Okay, we can get to go. Hey guys, welcome to Hackin It With Hash, the first episode of our new webinar series that we're doing with BodiTrak. You can see that Terry's ready to go. Special guests today are Richard Hughes, Jake Thurm, Mandy Von See from V1, and of course, Terry Hashimoto. Terry, I'm going to get it going over to you because you can go ahead and start and talk about the first couple subjects, and I'll start pulling up videos.
Well, I'm going to do a lot better than that tonight. I'm going to put my money on the water. And anybody who can prove me wrong tonight with my panel here, I'm going to give you $1,000 if you can prove me unequivocally wrong. I've got the best panel I've ever had going here. We've got Mandy Von See, top sales manager at V1. We've got Richard Hughes from the UK, and Richard Hughes is a technology expert. Jake Thurm and I have done a lot of seminars with Richard. First time I met Richard, I didn't like him very much. He wanted to argue with me every single goddamn time. We became great friends. And my buddy Jake Thurm, we've been rocking from the get-go. Jake, love you, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing this with us. And Ben Ball, our new guy at BodiTrak. Okay, so literally I'm going to put my money where our mouth is because everybody's been asking me about verticals. Today, I'm going to throw some stuff out at you. And if I'm wrong and you can prove me wrong unequivocally, it's $1,000. Those are all Canadians. I'll give it in American if you prove me wrong too. So time to put our money where our mouth is. And pull up that last trace I showed you. I want to show you guys something right from the get-go. No messing around with me today because I'm missing my son's soccer practice so I can talk to all you guys way out there in La La Land. All right. You see that little yellow spike, and that's the bad. Okay, go ahead and just roll that tape. Roll it.
It's playing.
All right, you're going to see this go back and forth, back and forth. I'm moving, baby. That's a double tap. Every time that pressure changes direction, that's a spike in the vertical force. What are you laughing at, Richard? And I'm going to make a prediction that you're going to see somebody on tour move like that and win in 2021. That's another $1,000 bet. All right, you prove me wrong, you got $1,000. That's the V chart. And then I'm going to flip out. Now look at that beautiful impact for a 62-year-old fat guy like me. Now what's interesting is that yellow blip right there. That yellow blip occurs just prior to the lead side. And look at my total vertical forces, 2.76. Jake, talk to me about vertical forces, the averages on tour.
Well, with the guys that I've measured, it's a little across the board, but I haven't seen too many tour guys that were much more than 1.7. The guys that I coached myself, not just data collected on, they were around 1.3. That was James Hahn. Kevin was actually around that number as well. But probably the longest guys on tour that I've measured on my own mat, it was probably about 1.7, 1.75, something like that.
And long drive?
Long drive long drive.
So the long drive guys, it's interesting because I've got a couple of those. And one was a finalist. I forget what the year was, 2016, whenever they did the Vegas where they were hitting it down basically a race car raceway. He was a little bit over 2. And then I actually had another guy who played a little bit of web, did a little bit of long drive, and he was a much bigger guy in stature, about 6'6". And actually he was under 2, and he was actually closer to more the tour average. So it's just kind of interesting how verticals is determined. I just released this, I think on TikTok actually. BodiTrak released this, and I had that gentleman hit off the fairway from the same distance, a fairway bunker from the same distance, and all we did was measure verticals. So certainly the surface you lift off of, certainly the stature that you are, and certainly, obviously the type of shot and what you're actually trying to do, how you best release a golf club. If you're a long drive guy, obviously you are trying to transmit every single bit of speed and energy into the club head. So if that's the case and that's the goal, then this is the trace, so to speak. And by the way, love the name Double Tap. One, because I can tell how excited you are today, so I'm going to need a double. And two, Double Tap. Anytime I hear that always implies the hitman, which you definitely are, because that's how you kill somebody. You put a double tap to the head. So you're going to have to put a double tap to the golf ball if you're going to kill it. So
All right, and listen, get rid of that trace there now. Put Kyle Berkshire up there for me. Richard, what's the average you've seen up there, big boy?
The average,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like Jake. You know, most people I'm with will be 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, depending on their size, their athleticism. So juniors and ladies can be a little bit more because that's how they might create power. So yeah, rare for me to see anything up at 2.
Now I am catching these guys off guard. Now, Mandy, you just did an interview with this fella that I was on. Talk to me about this fella.
Well, we looked at this swing when we were talking about Jamie Sadlowski. So, because this was a good example of a long driver. And we didn't have a recent swing of Jamie Sadlowski's. But yes, we did look at Kyle Berkshire, which is cool to see this video. I didn't see these videos the other day.
Well, this is Jamie here. And now I'm going to start.
That's Jamie?
This is Jamie. So hear me out. So I talked to Dr. Sashel McKenzie this morning because I hate to say anything that, even though I think I know everything, which I don't. I definitely know that I don't know everything. So at least I know something, which
you don't know everything. You just measure everything. How about that?
I love it. All right. So where I'm going with this is that the COM, the secret to massively long drivers is that the COM has to be going forward prior to and at impact. Okay? The COM is not backing up. Now, we hear a lot about this Z trace, where the trace looks like a Z. But the trick to this is that the COM, and it's that last tap, that last vertical tap that I showed you, that yellow marker there, that touches the ground on the way back towards impact, and then the lead brake that's going to create a counter rotation, like a restriction on the lead side, that prior to impact, just for a millisecond, blocks the COM, the COP, and just like the quick tap of the front brakes at high speed in a powerful car generates that incredible release of speed in the COM, COP, and a sudden massive surge in hand speed at impact. Now, the question that I have to you fellas here, this is Jamie Sadlowski, who is struggling a little bit right now. He's trying to play golf on a regular tour, so he's actually probably toning down his distance. Now, his head is going lower and kind of back to his right side, his trail side. What do you think that's doing to the COM?
Well, the center of mass the upper center has to be moving back and down, like you just said. And a lot of people would call that like a secondary axis tilt. And these guys have massive secondary axis tilt through the ball, because the more they push the lower center forward, the more, and their upper center back, the more they can raise the handle through impact. And anyone that has a radar, TrackMan, Foresight, flight scope, it knows the importance of angle of attack. So that handle raised through impact is basically shallowing out that base of the swing so they can go more up at it, which, and I mean, let's call it like it is. You're not going to be doing long drive, hitting level or down at it. It's just not going to happen. And the most interesting thing, Richie said, juniors and ladies. I don't think anyone coaching juniors is teaching a junior to hit level or down. And it's already made its way in the LPGA. I have never seen, and I've coached a few of the ladies out there and measured a few more. I have never seen a lady not at least 3 to 4 degrees up with her driver. And that's almost just a starting point, to be honest.
Okay, so I want to give you a hash-ism, true or false, guys and lady. Massive hitters are further away from the ball at impact than at address, based on what you just said, Jake.
Richie, go ahead. Yeah, I don't want to talk. Richie, go ahead. Yep.
Yes.
Jake, what do you say?
We've measured this as well. So if we're talking about that upper center moving backwards, it happens about 10 to 20 degrees with a tour player, and it's going to be more than 20 with these long drive guys. So they're going to be angling away and angling back.
All right, so look at Berkshire's, that was it. Now look at Berkshire, play it. Now I want to show you guys out there, because everybody's talking about angular velocities, and now he's moving all, I want you to stop it right there. Stop it right there. Stop it right there. Okay, stop. Good, all right. So now in the very next frame, so he's all in his toes right now. Berkshire is in his toes right there. God damn it, that's good. All right. So now in the next frame, now I want you to think of a camera on top of a guy's head. You guys all, now we look at this as the COP trace, but this is also showing you the angular velocity of the pressure in a topographical view. Now, if I had said that 10 years ago when we started, selling pressure mats called BodiTrak, this would have been the way angular velocities are shown. Instead, they're shown by using these arrows going upward, which in my opinion is 2 thumbs down, because the pressure is actually going down, not up. So everybody's got it wrong who's showing this going up. Now, I could be way off, and you guys can cut me down. I don't mind being cut down. But now if you go up one frame, as Kyle starts to go towards impact, he's moving to his heels, as Jake just suggested. So he's pulling back on the shaft, creating the extension, which giving him massive power. And what you don't see, if you go back to if you can go side by side and put up my first trace there. If you can put that first trace up there, I guess side by side is not good enough. That little yellow bump right there prior to impact, I only wanted one of them. You could put it up beside Berkshire's trace. There you go. That's mine. Good. Leave it there for a sec. That yellow bump behind there, you're screwing me over. Talk about, there you go. All right.
Oh, we had it.
There you go. All right. Now, obviously, the trace isn't like Berkshire. I'm not trying to create it, but if you go to the verticals, keep on going. Keep on scrolling me right to the verticals. Now, that double tap to me is everything. Where I go back, forth, back, forth. I'm going to talk about foot movement patterns in a second. Go to the verticals. Keep on going. To the right. Scroll to the right. That little yellow bump right there. That's my right foot pushing to my left. And Jake, Richard, that to me is the secret of massive drives, because it's the right foot. And I talked to Sasha about this, so anybody who wants to cut me up, let's go at it, baby. Let me get my money. $1,000. Anybody? $1,000. But you got to back it up too. There's $1,000 that says it's that trail foot pushing down, moving the COM to the lead side, braking on the lead side, stopping, just the restrictions, just stopping it prior to impact for a quick millisecond, blocks the COP, and just like a quick tap on the front brakes at high speed, generates the incredible release of speed in the COP, and sudden massive surge in hand speed at impact. I haven't had a drop to drink. I'm so excited to share this information with you, because nobody is looking at that. Nobody. Now, if they are, I haven't heard it. So have at me, Richard Hughes from the UK, and Mandy Von See from South Carolina, and Jake Thurm. Let's have it. I'm serious. I'm not sure I'm trying to entertain at the same time, but this is something I seriously found that we have not seen. And Richard, I see you studying it, so I know I've hit a good note here. This, to me, is the secret to massive long drive. How else, and I won't swear, but how else can a 62-year-old fat pig like me generate 2.76 vertical forces on the ground, that soft shit ass ground, same colored shirt that I wore today, and I did this 5 times in a row by double tapping. Now let me explain, guys, and audience, if you have any questions, go right at it. Most golfers, well, there's 5 basic foot movement patterns. Trail to lead side, hit the ball, boom, da, no power. Then the Sheffield board, lead side, trail side, lead side, trail side, lead side, boom, good one. Then I call it double tap, lead, trail, lead, lead, trail, lead, trail. That last trail pushing me to my lead side. And then the same thing, lead, trail, boom, restriction. That little bump. Talk to me about Rory. You guys over there in Europe, talk to me about Rory. What's he doing at impact? He says counter rotation. What do you guys think?
You're in Europe, Richie. You can go ahead. I have some thoughts, but go ahead, Richie.
So obviously, I think that motion is less now as he's a little bit older or his body's more developed. So I think that motion was a little bit that motion was more exaggerated a few years ago, but it's definitely it definitely shows big brakes. So fast cars have big brakes to accelerate the hands and club to the ball.
I caught everybody off guard. Sorry.
Yeah, no. It reminded me of two things, if I may. It reminded me of our friend James Lights when he was at TPI. He said this on my Instagram live during quarantine, and he said 15 years ago, Dr. Greg Rose said that the key to creating distance was all about deceleration, and yeah. I think he called them full of whatever, and he goes, "Prove it to me. Show me the data," and then he was able to show how it would decelerate to transmit speed and energy into the club head, which is obviously ideal. And then when you were talking, Hash, I think something that that a lot of instructors or golfers don't understand, that at many points in the swing, the feet are diametrically opposed to one another, which is what's creating the break, right? Which is what's creating the axis tilt, which is what's creating the speed. So if you're going to apply force at the handle, you would need to, so when your right foot is pushing towards a target, the left foot is actually pushing against it backwards, right? So that would be the way to transmit the most speed and energy, or actually force into the handle, which redirects the force back up to the player, which puts all the speed and velocity in the club head. And at that point in the swing, I think another thing that's pretty interesting that I don't know if a lot of instructors are watching this get this, but at that point, the club is swinging them. And that's another interesting thing. So after you apply the brake and apply force at the handle, everything that you see the golfer doing is actually the club's effects on them because of how they broke in terms of the ground.
Ben, get my picture off the TV there. That swing sucks compared to the, I don't want to look at that. No, but
I thought it was pretty good. I can't wait to go out and try it myself.
Well, okay, now I've been thinking about this, and I remember when we first were hanging around, Jake, we talk about what type of coaches are you, you know, and I remember Scotty Hamilton telling everybody in front of all of us that were in attendance, he was a backswing coach. And for those that don't know Scotty Hamilton, he's probably one of the, you know, he probably makes more money off the PGA pros than most, I would suggest. And he's a backswing coach. Well, Jake, what type of coaches are you two guys?
I would say in a dynamic sense, we're a balance coach.
Beautiful.
And people use that word balance, and I think it's misrepresented. Basically, I mean, what is balance and what is dynamic balance? So as that club is going through at 100 miles an hour and swung in front of you, I mean, dynamically, it's almost like swinging a 100-pound kettlebell in front of you. So what effects would that have? So when I say balance, I would actually say counterbalance. So we're I'd say, and don't let me speak for you, Richie.
You keep going, Jake.
We're counterbalance coaches. That's what I would say. Because yes, we've taught a lot of professionals. Yes, we've taught a lot of touring pros, so on and so forth. But we do also teach a lot of high level.
I don't. Okay, so now, Richard, what type of coach are you before we go back to Mandy? Forget it. You don't know. So I'm gonna tell you what type of coach I am.
Can I be?
I am an impact coach now, Jake. I'm changing gears. I was wrong on vertical forces. You heard it from me. I was wrong because there's a direct correlation between vertical forces and distance.
I think Richie's agnostic. How about that?
Can I?
You know what? You've been cooped up in red zone too long in the UK. Get off your ass and start talking, and you're off this show. Okay. Just kidding, Richard. Just kidding. But seriously,
Terry, go back to vertical forces and correlation to distance.
right?
Talk to me about vertical forces and the correlation to velocity and the COP. So all three combined. Talk to me about their relationship.
That's a tricky one, but I'll tell you what I do know for sure.
Which is something that I've always been interested in.
Go. I walked over you. Please say that again.
So the relationship between the COP, the verticals, and the velocity of the COP, that's something that I've always been interested in, and something I've always asked you about.
So I said I was wrong, but the truth is I wasn't. Because you can have low vertical forces and still be a massively big hitter.
Yeah.
And
So how would you do that?
But the craziest thing is how I generated that high vertical forces. I didn't push very hard on the ground. I just pushed on it at the right time.
Yeah.
It was literally a tap. I mean,
Yeah.
I gotta be honest with you today. Like, I have never been so stressed out, and I'm not liquored. I'm not on blow. I'm not on weed. I'm not on anything. I'm just being me. I'm not a diet coach. I'm telling you the truth.
Well, then log off and come back when you are.
Well, I know. Well, that's it.
It's only 5 o'clock there, Terry.
All right.
So Terry,
2 hours from now, you'll be doing coke and smoking
No,
weed,
but
right?
I'm serious. What's bugging me is that when I looked at the vertical forces, because I wanted to understand them better, and I've been looking at them for a decade. And to me, we always say, okay, the two key points for the vertical force is lead arm parallel to the ground on the way back, max vertical force down, trail side. On the way down, P5, max vertical force, lead side, down. Trail side, lead side. But what I found is that when I looked at Berkshire's information, and then Stevie Cox reached out and sent us Berkshire, and our buddy Coxie sent us these guys, because they all hang around PG National and all that. He sent us Berkshires, and he sent us this one other guy who had the same World Long Drive Championship, but 5 years earlier in his career. And they all had one characteristic. What on the trail side that set up the lead, the last vertical bump on the lead side, but they had double bumps. And then I started correlating the chart with the pressure change when I moved from side to side. Every time there's a shift or change in the COP chart, there's a vertical bump before and or slightly thereafter.
So Terry, when you was doing the swing today,
yeah,
you wasn't explicitly trying to push on the ground hard. It was the timing of it.
Yep.
Jake, you mentioned something really important a few moments ago around what the golf club does to the human as it swings around. So is there any correlation there?
Is that a question to Terry or to me? So, okay. So I was just processing all this when Terry was saying it. And we right before we went live, I think one important note to make is that sometimes this is the difference between good movers and good players, right? Sometimes some of the worst players actually have the highest verticals. So it's not just have the highest verticals. Let's point that out. It's actually the ramping of them up quite quickly and the timing of it that matters most.
Exactly.
So the quality of it, the timing of it, not necessarily the quantity of it. Certainly, if the timing is there and you could increase the quantity, obviously you might have more potential there. But I live by a Top Golf right down that way. I promise you that they're all jumping out of the ground. because the center of the mass of the club is so steep in the downswing. If they didn't,
Yeah.
well, heck, they don't, because half the club heads end up on the range anyways,
Yeah.
right? Club's not supposed to break there. So I think that's an important note. That obviously we're talking about distance, and we're talking about correlations, causations, so on and so forth. But it's a difference between good movers and good players. It is more the time, and you don't have a lot of time. You have less than 10,000ths of a second to do that, from, as Terry so eloquently put, from 4 to 5, P4 to P5, to ramp these up. But actually, if you can, and if you're working with somebody that you're trying to get it to hit, that extra little tap in the back, if you can put that in. It begs a question, because we have coaches here, right? Not scientists, and then I'll let you go, Terry. It's like, this is, yeah, that's all great, Jake, but how do you train it? I do think you already mentioned the Sheftick board before, right? It's got to go. I think showing a client that and demonstrating it. I always say it sounds like Morse code or something like that when you're doing it right. Another interesting thing is those
Jake,
with the closest. Yeah.
I've got video footage of you with the on the Sheftick board with the multi-stick, the multi-bar.
Yeah.
And when you've gone lead side, trail side, and when you've accelerated and then decelerated, you've automatically flipped back to the trail side on the Sheftick board.
Excellent way of training it, combining the multi-stick with the pressure board and getting on a BodiTrak. You'll see that extra tap typically, because that's how you crack the end of the multi-stick.
But interestingly, all you was trying to do was decelerate.
That's the force, right? And that's the force being redirected back up at the player. And I think another thing. So obviously this is a deep dive, and some people are like, "This is great," and some people are like, "Oh, geez, this is over my head."
So I think
the important thing is that the center of pressure with the people that hit it the longest moves quite quickly.
Yeah.
Whereas the people that don't generate as much club head speed are much slower in those transitions from lead to trail to lead.
So, Richard, and I'm really excited. You guys just aced it, and it was, we're a little slow getting started here, because I got to tell everybody here, I didn't really give Jake and Richard fair warning, nor Mandy. They're my friends, and I wanted this to be a legitimate discussion as opposed to some of the shit that we do normally, where we all kind of know what the fuck we're going to be talking about. And
my stuff's not normally shit.
No,
my stuff's not normally shit. So I don't know what you guys are doing over there. But...
Okay, Benny, come here. Benny, come here. I haven't had a drink. What are you talking about? This is my son. He's a giant. He's meaner than, snake oil. He's a soccer pro. He's coming over to the UK, and he's going to kick ass. Okay, so anyways, I got to show you guys this, okay? So I have had a really shitty month, because I had to teach a bunch of beginners all month. I mean, I had the best month of my life because I got to teach them. All right, but there's something that really, they were all hockey players too. Now, hockey players are moving sports, right? So they're standing over the ball. They can't fucking hit the ball. I mean, these guys are like useless. I mean, oh my God. I mean, blood pressure pills, you can understand, took a whole bottle of them. That is real blood pressure pills. I got the guys that something that Richard and Jake, you got, and I'm not shitting you. I watched you guys do this. I got those mothers to just move their feet.
Yeah.
And I started looking at the beat chart, because I had everything all up there, and I'm looking, well, the vertical forces, they're just tapping their feet, and they're going up to like 2.2, 3.1, 1.7, but nothing 1.5-ish. I said, okay. So just for fun, I started rolling them golf balls, and I said, just keep moving your feet. I just roll them golf balls. Keep in mind.
Great idea.
You know what I mean? Because they're
great idea.
Boom, all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. And then I started recording it. Holy shit, they're making contact. Their vertical forces are going up. They're not doing shit except they're doing a tap dance. So I started looking at this, and I start comparing these things. And I go, well, Karan Kanwar, she's teaching my guy how to hit golf balls. Paul Janker owns them out, so she's got him set up like this just to get on the inside. Well, that's okay, because Paul's, I hope not watching this, Paul, but you're not very fucking coordinated. I'll tell you that. And, so he's
watching though. She's actually watching.
Oh shit! I guess I got to move from the mouth.
She is. I can see her.
Okay.
All right, Terry, Richie and I have no sympathy for you having to teach people who suck. Okay, that's like every day.
I know. Okay, but let me finish. So she's got him set up like this, which is good because he can't do it. He's got to do something. But he's not moving forward. And that's the next move. But then
question, Terry and Jake.
He had a guy that was just reloaded, come forward, and it was a dead linear trace, but nothing going back. It was just right to left. So I started looking at foot patterns, and I want to introduce the word foot patterns, and I promise I'll shut up. So I introduced the word foot patterns. Right, left, that's one. You can just move from your right side to your left side. That's a foot pattern. Then there's the Schefter pattern, which is left, right, left. Okay. And then there's my favorite. It's the double tap. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Boom. Yeah. And then I add
I'm
that.
gonna do that.
So anyways, I'm done talking, and Karan will answer your question. She's pissed at me. That's okay. Send it back.
So question, Terry.
All right. Yeah.
So the guys you was just teaching there, and you was talking about how you was getting them to just go left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. So you asked me a question last night. How do I use vertical pressure?
Yeah.
So my order would be when using the BodiTrak to look at center of pressure first, to look at velocity second, and then I would look at vertical pressure third. And for me, they all influence each other. What would your order be when analysing a golfer?
Well, I'd COP, but I use the velocity chart. I want to understand. I seriously, and all kidding aside, and Paul, if you were listening, I was just teasing. If my shit's outside my door at the mount tomorrow, I understand. Karan, but that's okay. No, but seriously, I look at the trace first. The velocity chart tells me whether they're backing up at impact. But I did seriously try in the last, since COVID, because I had nothing to do except to, teach and study. I seriously took an attempt to see if I could figure out how to teach just using verticals. And, I don't think I can, but I do honestly think that and I'm not blowing smoke up your pipe, and it's not all credit just to you guys, but because you guys set me on the right path, I think I don't want to call it traces anymore. I want to call them foot movement patterns. Because
I love that.
I found that double trace for me and on all embellishment aside, I'm going to do that. And I guarantee you, like I have $1,000 bet, because I think I know somebody who's actually doing it in China, in all honesty, on the Chinese tour. And there's a lot of guys. What's that name? That guy's name in Ireland that moves his foot a lot. Oh, Christ, Rich. You know him, Paddington. Patrick. What's his name?
Padraig Harrington.
I bet you I'll bet you he has a funny trace. And his brother's got a golf school in somewhere, if Sergio Cortez or whatever his name is using Swing Cat now, whatever. Send us this guy's trace, because I'll bet you it's a double trace. Or it's going to be something that's interesting, because he's tapping his feet. But I found
Jake, how do you look at what would your order be when using BodiTrak?
So my youngest doesn't sleep through the night very well, so I was up in the middle of the night, and he seems he's 1 year old, and he seems comforted by golf. So I turned on the golf channel, and there are no coincidences, as Terry says. So Lexi Thompson was on, and it was the LPGA Tour, and she's probably known for jumping out of the ground the most with her driver, and she stuck this wedge beautifully. So I was sitting there going, I just don't think people understand that once you change the tool, you change the interaction. Because something that Terry and I have talked a lot about, you as well, especially even with Bryson, we talk about trail ankle pronation and trail foot eversion. So on this wedge that she stuck, that right heel was pretty much stuck to the ground. But again, what was the proper usage of the tool and what was the shot she was trying to hit? She was trying to flight a wedge. So if you would have had her on a BodiTrak on that shot, I bet you it would have been an abbreviated trace and linear. But if you get her off the tee, which is she hit driver to have that wedge, she doesn't even end up on the mat. So when Terry's talking about foot movement patterns, there's a foot movement pattern. I mean, her lead foot would not be on the mat when she finished.
Yeah.
So it's just optimal use of the tool. If you're only teaching and attached to one, then you're, whatever that may be, your students are going to be maybe exceptional with one part of the bag, but struggle with the other.
Mandy, you have a lot of customers all over the world right now. And, you're in all fairness, you're pioneering the use of pressure mapping on the V1 Power by BodiTrak pressure mat. And I mean, your software is dynamite. And you get a lot of questions as to how to use vertical forces, or where are people asking you the most questions these days about?
Good. Thank you for asking me that. And by the way, I'm sorry you had the worst month ever. I had the best month ever because I put more BodiTraks in the hands of golf instructors last month than any month ever.
So we send Scott and I your way?
No. Now I have a lot of people ask about the difference in the clubs. Like, is there a different foot pattern? I guess I have to not say trace, which really messes up my webinar too.
No, use traces. The traces is good. I'm just trying to be different than you, but not really. I honestly can't. I just go ahead, man.
When I think of Mandy and when I think of Terry, trust me, you couldn't be more different.
I know. I was about to say And thank you for looping me in there with your friends. It took us a minute to get here. No, I get a lot of people that ask if there's a difference in the trace or the data based on the different clubs. That's probably the first question that I get from a new instructor is the trace different? You know, driver versus any other club in the bag.
How do people reach you, Mandy? How do people reach you if they want to buy them out?
They can call me on my cell phone, which I will have Ben put in the chat screen.
Oh, okay. I was going to write that down.
Yeah,
I was putting it on a cocktail napkin.
Hey, Ben, I see there's a few questions. Why don't you read them out? And Richard and Jake.
But really quickly, Ben, will you put my email address and phone number in the chat if anyone wants to purchase a BodiTrak mat after this amazing webinar? I'd love to.
Also put her Snapchat handle.
Whatever. You know what, Jake?
Her Instagram, all over socials.
That just came out wrong. Okay. Ben, is there any questions out there?
Well, Kieran said, Mandy, you can call them Friday foot patterns as far as instead of traces.
Yeah. Well, is that it? That's the only question we got?
Yeah, so far. They also said that verticals are overrated as you may never get it at the right moment, and golf is not an up-down movement. It's mainly rotary. It's mainly rotary.
Well, go ahead, Richard.
What was the question? That verticals are not important?
They said that, go ahead and read that again.
It said verticals are overrated as you may never get it at the right time, and golf is not an up-down movement. It's mainly rotary. Rotary.
Yep.
Yeah, rotary.
I'd say there's definitely some up and down motion.
Yeah, I'd say whoever said that probably, just started up golf.
Yeah, I mean, there's a kinetic chain. There's a lateral component, there's a rotary component, and there's a vertical component. And we find them in all players. To simply subtract one or say one is not important, I have never, ever said something that we are now able to measure is unimportant. Right. I usually just say, I haven't learned enough about it yet. That's what I say. So I would never be so bold to say something that is newly measurable is unimportant.
I was a little boy traveling through the forest on my motorcycle, and I fell off the motorcycle and I hit my head on the tree. And when I woke up, there was this key there. And anyways, went home, was scared to tell my dad I fell off the motorcycle, and there was a key. I didn't tell him my dad had the key. Anyways, where am I going with this, right? Well, sometimes you never know what you're seeing. Sometimes you just fall on the ground and you stumble on things, and there's a key. Well, anyways, later on in life, after my dad, when he was sick, my mother gave me a box. And in that box were all the pictures of my dad racing motorcycles when he was a little boy. But my dad found me in the bush, passed out, knew where I was racing the motorcycle, and he put the key. He knew I wasn't dead. I don't know how he did that. He put the key beside my helmet. It was a big key. But in that box was the life history of my dad as a motorcycle racer that I didn't know when I was a little boy. Now that story, maybe you're not bullshit, but it's not. And tonight, I'm telling you, this tap shit that we discovered, when you unlock the guy, when you unlock your guy, how to teach golfers faster, easier. When you unlock their feet, if they're frozen, they're frozen, they're fucked. They're not gonna hit the ball. But when you unlock them, I'm telling you, the movement patterns, they accelerate the learning curve. I hit the shit out of the ball today, and I'm gonna play golf tomorrow for 9 holes because I want to play golf because I just want to see it. But I'm gonna tell you, you guys try this. Try going just right, left, and stay on your right and just hit it. That's open hips, boom, gone. But do the shifted thing, left, right, left, right, left, right. Then go ahead, boom, and then.
So Terry, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. So it reminds me, not to give a plug to my YouTube channel, but just to make complex things easier, it reminds me of the video I did where I said do the Donkey Kong move, where you go side to side, side to side. And it's funny, I have a couple of my juniors on the USA junior team. Anytime I tell them to smoke it, a wry smile will come up because I know that they're watching the YouTube, but they'll start going like this, back and forth, back and forth. And I always tell them, I go, you know, that looks actually pretty good. You just need to do it quicker. So it's kind of, if we're talking verticals, make that thing look like the Richter scale during an earthquake.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That was my discovery, and I'm sorry about the sentimental journey, but I think a lot of times, like I honestly think that people who watch this video were going to think it wasn't that good because we're over their heads because they're not smart enough to follow us, unfortunately. I'm going to get a shot for that. But the truth is, those little taps that I was watching those hockey players do, it was increasing their vertical force so high that I couldn't believe it because 1.3, 1.5 for the average touring pro, that's not very high. But if they just tap into it, get that tap going, and I honestly think that somebody well, I think there are people right now playing golf at the tour level and will win with a lot of motion in their pre-set up routine and even during
100%.
Yeah, so I think that's answered my question, gents. When I asked about the relationship between the COP, the velocity, and the verticals, you know, that's definitely what I see. That the more speed from left to right, and the more activity on the mat, just everything starts going faster and up.
I know we need to. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end, and I've exhausted all of my own energy trying to come across in the most entertaining way possible. I think everybody here, Mandy, Jake, and Richard knows I'm quite serious actually, and you know we can be outside externally a little different to try to entertain you. And tonight I hope you have enjoyed some of this. But I'd like to give the opportunity for Mandy and Richard and Jake to have some closing thoughts and wrap this up.
I'll start. So Terry, thanks for letting me hang out with you guys. I always learn something from all of you. I appreciate it. And I like the foot patterns. I like the drill you're giving the folks. Thank you. Although I'm not changing my webinar on Tuesdays. I'm still gonna, I have folks booked for the next month, so we have to keep Tuesday traces at least for a month. So, and Todd Adcock from the UK, Richard, you're over in your area is going to be with me on Tuesday. He's joining us tonight. So thanks, Terry, for
You're good, man.
when you
And
guys
Richard, what do you think? I mean, let me give Jake the hammer. He's the hammer man, anyways.
Yeah, go ahead, Richie. Go ahead.
You, Rich.
So I'd like to say thank you guys because, as always, I'm leaving with more questions than I started with. So that's been fabulous.
I'll second that.
Before you go, Jake, I want to let everybody know, if tonight seemed a little bit crazy and off the wall, that's how we really talk when we're all together. It's sort of the way we are. I find it synergistic. I love being around these guys. And Mandy, you're now part of the hood. Ben, you always were. But this is my group, and Coxie's usually here with us, and a couple other guys, Foley and the guys. You know, we argue, we hash things out, and we always give the hammer to Jake because he is the stud.
I don't know about that, but it reminds me, what Richie just said reminds me of what one of my main mentors, Jim Suddy, said during his Hall of Fame speech. He said, I set out over 30 years ago to learn everything I possibly could about a golf swing and to have all the answers. And I stand in front of you today with none of them. So everything that is measurable is important. And if you don't think it is, then we just don't understand it well enough yet. And it's always a pleasure to see you, especially with what's going on in the world. And I love the double tap. Boom,
The double
boom.
tap. The double tap.
Somebody asked about my YouTube page. It's just Jake Thurm Golf on YouTube. And you better believe that I will have a double tap video this week. I promise you.
From all of us all over the world, Mandy Von See, Richard Hughes, Jake Thurm, Ben Ball, hacking it out with Hash on Friday nights. The first one, baby. We're out of here.
Do we get to do it again?
Let's do it again, y'all. See you later.
Awesome.
See you
Thanks,
guys.
Terry.
Bye.
All right.
Cheers.